So, as a child, you learn by the input that you're given. And this is the realization I've come to, is that I was taught through the way I was raised by my mother. And these are the quotes: beggars cannot be choosers. And the next quote: you get what you get. Okay, those are the two things I grew up with hearing and listening to. What that means is, when I was a child, it's like you could make your preferences known, but you couldn't get what you want. And then you stopped asking questions. I have to blow my nose. It has nothing to do with crying. It has to do with it being stuffed. Anyway, I'm really getting into the deepness of my own personal healing as a child of narcissistic abuse, and my father that's just recently passed, not quite a month, but within the month of this recording. And I'm getting to know him and love him more and more every day as my brother unearths photographs, and I get to learn about my father's accomplishments on all levels, high school and collegiate. Because when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to know anything about my father. My mother won the Carnival Queen Cup. He was lucky she picked him. She could have been a senator's wife. She could have been married to Jim Jeffords. We know my mother could have been married to Jim Jeffords, she says, because he apparently was sniffing up her skirt when they were in Vermont. Jim Jeffords, look it up. Jim Jeffords is the now deceased, but namesake of a building that was Castleton College, now part of the University of Vermont system. Yeah. But I think growing up poor and being born in 1935 is what messed up my mother. And I think for my father, it was his father actually married a woman for her money and assets. And his father was 4 or 5 years younger than his mother. And was unemployed a lot. And it was because of her holdings. She had a home. Isn't that wild? He was either unemployed or working under the table. You know what I'm saying? So you're learning about your family. You know how the medical industry wants everybody to what is your family genetic DNA disease structure? You know, they want to know what your family's diseases were. Well, what about what they were like in the patterns? So finding out, because my brother is showing me, evidence. So as evidenced by a birth certificate, as evidenced by a marriage certificate. I got to see the marriage certificate of my grandparents. And I love my Grammy. I love her, love her, love her. My grandfather, I thought, was a little bit curmudgeonly. I thought he was a little bit of a shyster. And that would explain where my father was the empath and the narcissist was his dad. This is the pattern. Then he married a narcissist, which was my mom. And she gave birth to children, and I'm an empath. I'm the youngest. And I attracted narcissists. But then I kept leaving them. I didn't stay with them. And then I did my best to break the pattern, even though I think that, unfortunately, when I left the narcissist, that's the garden variety, my children's father, he abused them emotionally by telling them on the daily, your mother has left us. And then he took off to Arizona and brought them to my parents' house. Against my wishes, I wanted to take care of them. Off he goes. He takes the children away from me for like 2 weeks. And I couldn't do anything about it because I had left him. Of course I couldn't do anything about it. But I didn't leave them. And that's what he told my own children. So he traumatized my children. So my daughter to this day has to go through her own healing, and I love her, but she has had a lasting impression. She's fucked up, and she knows it, and she's angry. Oh, yes, you've come from a very troubled family, but we have the opportunity to heal. You have the opportunity to realize I'm one of the good guys, but I will recognize whether or not you're going to abuse me, and I will count you out of my life, my friend, my daughter. So it's just crazy to be in a situation on Earth, planet Earth, where you're experiencing the bifurcation of your own family. And I think that's what's happening on the planet. I think there is a true bifurcation because those people just as easily can think I'm crazy. Yeah. Why should I be upset that they got there first and took the silver and the jewelry and whatever they wanted and cleaned the house out of all of the kitchen linen so that there were no dish towels, no dish rags. I had to buy them when I got there in February of 2023. They were all gone. In the bedroom I used to sleep in, the twin beds were gone. Everything was on the floor. There was no dresser. Everything looked like somebody had just moved out or was moving in, but it was as if it was a storage closet the size of a room rather than a room that was once, dressed with furniture in it. So I'm very relaxed right now. Having had that little conversation of coming to terms with so much that I suppose I needed to come to terms with. Pause for a drink. I woke up. This is the middle of the night. Well, it's in the wee hours of the morning, but, the middle of the sleeping cycle. And I woke up and I realized I could stay in bed and toss and turn, or I could speak my thoughts. But I have the stuffy nose, so if I sound like a little bit off, that's why. Yeah, there's a rectification within myself, though, and there's a resilience, and there's also an awareness that, yes, there's going to be a polarity in people's thinking. It's evident in the fact that here in America we have the Democratic Party, and the duality is what we have here going on Earth. But here's the deal. And I was talking about like what you lacked as a child of a narcissist. As I was trying to learn what was wrong with how I couldn't stay in a relationship, how come I couldn't stay in a relationship, it all stemmed with I was trying so hard to be in a relationship. I kept working on myself and working on myself and working on myself. And I found on my computer actually like the rules of engagement. It's like the rules of an argument. And then I had written them down. I remember And I was with that guy in Virginia, and I go, oh, okay, we're going to adhere to this. These are out. That way I needed to bring outside of myself, because I wasn't able to articulate my own thoughts without him not believing me. I found an outside source. So the guy before him was like that too. They needed you almost to write a dissertation about a subject before you actually talked about it. I'm serious. It was like they couldn't just listen to you in face value. No. It was like, and that's what my mother was like. It was like you always had to justify yourself. You always had to explain. And I looked how tedious and boring that was. So I realized also that there's a necessity to do it if there's an intelligent question. But having had the constant nullification of anything that I said, I started to also learn that I didn't have the ability to cipher out anything that was of value. Because after a while, I had to reject everything that others would say, and everything that others would produce. And that meant turning off all social programming. So I did. So when you step outside of, it's like people call it the matrix, but essentially it's creating a thought formation patterning that is, this is how life's supposed to be. And this is how you fit into it. And there is nothing wrong with that, unless you're in the narcissist matrix. And then they have very specific roles for you to satisfy a need they have. Yeah. And if you don't fulfill that need, which they can't put a finger on, but every day you're just not satisfying it, what you'll experience with them is just this growing feeling that this person is constantly festering and agitated and ill at ease. And that's what it's like being with a narcissist. It's what you feel. So the learning how to have that tune in intuition, what your body is telling you, that's what you do. So gauge all relationships, all engagements with that feeling. And create that feeling in your body of that ease. And that is what you cultivate post-narcissist exposure, but you don't realize it until you're truly out of the woods. It's like not being able to see the stars for the trees. All the branches are in the way. So I'm in the clearing now. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all the world's a sunny day. La da 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 da. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Look at me, there's nothing but blue sky. Yeah, there's nothing but blue sky. There's nothing but blue sky ahead. Blue sky, clarity, that's the color of the third chakra. Everything's opening up with that bifurcation. There's an opening up. It's a splitting away of, but then there's that clearing. Yeah. So it's as evidence within my own family. And it is very challenging to deal with. But there's joy. Because I feel my own personal growth. And I'm sensing my father, and I'm feeling the power of my father. And my brother is unearthing the mementos Now the souvenirs and stuff like that, here, look at this. My brother is unearthing all of my dad's medals and ribbons and trophies. But not trophies like we had when the era of trophies were given, showing up, you exist, here, have a trophy. But the trophy is like 2 slabs or 1 slab of a rectangular shaped cut marble with a pin, a screw pin through it and a base, and you stack these pieces and you have this metal figure on top doing the thing of which you're getting the trophy for. So if you're showing up for soccer, it'll be like a ball or a soccer player or something. And that's it. Well, no, my father's, they were all his actual ribbons. Well, in the olden days, these ribbons, they had quality to them. Now, when I was a kid, we had ribbons. We had actual ribbons. Sorry, my nose. This is what my narcissistic mother did for me when I was leaving New Hampshire for the last time, because I was the last child. And she says, I know you can't take things with you, but I want you to put everything you want in this one box. This is like a chapter in my book. And it's called Put Everything You Want is saved in this one box that you love and cherish. You're going to love this. This is equivocal to the hair story of which hacked my hair. Okay? This is she's a pathological narcissist. She's crazy. She's crazy. She would think I was crazy for thinking that what she did to me was cruel. She would think I was nuts. That what? Huh? I digress, because my brother told me he found a lock of my hair with the date on it when she cut my hair when I was that freshman in high school. That story of when she cut my braids. She kept the lock of my hair as a memento. She dated it. My name and that long piece of hair. Remember that hair hacking story I told you about? My mom kept goading me every single night to cut my hair. It was so beautiful. I was a freshman in high school. I was young, confident. I was gaining the attention of the men, of course, but I also was very happy. It was so much fun being me. Well, she had to put an end to that. So yeah, as murderers keep their lockets, or their souvenirs of... Murderers keep mementos, some do, of their victims. They take photographs or an actual physical item. You hear about this. And if not, it's written about in novels, or it's done in movies, whatever. But it's become part of the collective to think that. Well, it turns out that narcissists keep mementos as well, because she kept a lock of my hair. I still have my braids. I have the proof. I used to put pieces of my hair into the bushes so that the birds can make nests out of them. Because when I was a girl, when we would find nests in the time when nests would fall, we would find tufts of our hair in the nests. Now, if you put clumps and clumps and clumps of hair, that's different. But it's like strands of hair that you put in and amongst the places where dead branches would be, in little thickets and stuff. That's where birds will find those little branches. And they most assuredly will find those hairs. So, anyway, I used to put those out so that birds, in the spring, so that birds could use them for making nests. Now, do you think this only happened to me? No. My other 2 sisters, they also had their hair hacked off. And each of us were traumatized in different ways. And the tell is how we disposed of it. Listen to this. My first sister, she burned hers in a ceremony, just to rid her of the negative mojo Jane, our mother, sent us. The second one gave her the locks for love because her own daughter cut her hair, and then my sister, the golden child, she brought her braids out from their wrappings because they had been wrapped ever so carefully. And yes, a preservation style paper towel, and then in cellophane wrap or saran wrap or plastic wrap, whatever it's called. I still have mine, but not all of them, because anyway, she gave hers the locks for love. I kept mine because to me, losing my hair and holding onto those braids, I got to hold on to, and you could feel it in the braids, what I lost in my ensuing year of that school when she did that to me, and how it made me angry and introverted. So the pathologically narcissistic mother will do what she does to thwart her daughter's success. Now, my difference between my sister Corinne and I is that she accepted. She says, okay, when it went for her. She almost she was ready. All right, I'm getting initiated when it was her turn, when she was a freshman in high school. This is what my mother did systematically. It was like a female circumcision. Systematically to each of us. This is good movie shit. Any writers out there? This is some good screenplay. You want to collaborate? I've got a lot of details. Are you a literary agent? Are you interested in somebody to write a screenplay? I have got details in my mind. You have no idea how my memory goes back. I've got stories upon stories. They're wonderful. I remember so much. They're really beautiful stories. Because, you know, we all come out of it. And I still view hair as very important. And so do men who are bald. So where were we? We were talking about something else before I went over on that little tertiary. But all rivers lead to the ocean. Eventually. Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed talking. This has been quite the podcast, right? I'm enjoying this. You can't see me, but I can feel me when I speak to you. And I can change my voice. And again, apologies for being sniffly. But it is winter time here. Yeah, it is winter time, and you know, I have not been an active outdoor person. I haven't been that person, and I know that's why people get old and die. You stop going outside and running around and playing. And I have that like, okay, you're going to put your clothes on and go outside and play every single day as if you're being pushed outside. So, and in a way, reparent myself. And learning, you know, the effective communication. And I learned that, you know, there are those children that had the trophy for every day showing up. Well, I received their children, my children, the millennials, they grew up with a trophy for showing up. In my day, you received like ribbons when you got first place in something. And so that box I told you about, my mom goes, okay, put everything that's of value to you in this box. And I was leaving for I was leaving to go to the College of Charleston. That's right. Because my mom left New Hampshire and moved to Maryland, and I didn't move to Arizona until after my first year. And I moved from Maryland to Arizona. And she had promised me she'd always save my box. And that they had this box. Well, this box. What did this box contain? All the things that were really precious to me. So, yeah, ribbons, blue ribbons, yeah. But also postcards my Grammy had written to me. And she was the softie. And she was the one who was older by 4 or 5 years than my grandfather. And she was the one with the money. She had property. So he married her for the money. And there's another story. And I inherited it. And it's called the hymen. Yes, no lie. My grandmother and my grandfather spent their honeymoon in the emergency room because her hymen was so thick he couldn't penetrate it. And he forced her to have it surgically incised. On the night that my grandmother married the love of her life, the unemployed, or, hey, I'm working on the side, but I'm going to claim unemployed. This is what I'm getting at. He was a very handy man. He could fix things. He was a tradesman. And what he did, he fixed washers, dryers, everything mechanical. Unemployed. But he didn't have property. So my grandfather married my grandmother for property. There's the line. She was the softie. He was the opportunist. They had my dad. He's the softie. He meets my mom. She's the opportunist. She has me. I'm the softie. And I have all opportunists that feed off of me. See how it works? So it's like it doesn't work for us that are the softies. I just want to live in a world of softies. Can't we just all be telepathic and see through everybody else's crap? But what's really funny is a narcissist can't. They can't. They actually seem like I'm in a text thread with my sister and my brother still. And I have to unplug every now and then, and this is one of those nows, and this is one of those thens. I'm like, oh, but I tuned in for the last sentence because it shows up in your feed, the last sentence. And it's like, my sister was admonishing my brother for not calling me on my bullshit because apparently he must have called her on hers. So this is what a narcissist will do. Rather than taking it and like allowing the person to call you on your bullshit, they deflect it. Oh, well, you're calling me on mine, but you're not calling you're not calling Cac on her bullshit. It's like, it's so funny. It is so funny. It's like, will they ever apologize? No. Will they ever say, oh, we acted too soon? No. They can do no wrong. And then they want to be angry and mad at you and tell you you're a crazy nut job. And you're kind of going, wait a second here. Which one of us is taking this badly? It's like, oh my God, this isn't a personal affront. Oh. So I've been reparenting and healing myself. My sister only had the one marriage, and he know what he did? He's like a turtle. He went straight into his shell. He married her. He said, I do. And then he's like, ooh, I do not. I do not do that. I do not do that, or that, or that. I do stay married to you, but I don't do any of that. Nothing. He left the family. He never showed up to any of our gatherings. So why should my sister's family inherit the silverware, right? He refused showing up. But, is it because, I know why. I know why. Write this down, screenplay writers. The entitled golden child feels entitled. The one that, gave her hacked off hair to the locks of love so she could, buddy with her daughter who was doing it for humanitarian altruistic reasons too, and they could Facebook it together to show the world what good people they are. But you don't have to say any of that. All you have to do is have scenes of it, and people make their own inferences, because there's going to be a bunch of people that think that's fantastic. Yeah, they're not going to see the truth. I protested and protested and protested. When it came time for me to have mine done, I protested and protested. And finally, I was tired of it. I'm a daughter. You're the little puppy of a mother, bitch. Okay? That is exactly what it is in dog terms. Well, in human terms, you're in a cult. It's called the family. So to say she forced me, did she put me into straitjacket and then cut my hair? No. She goaded me and 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 goaded me every single night. And on the 3rd night, I broke down. All right, I'm not Jesus Christ. I didn't last 40 days and 40 nights. Okay? I was a kid. I lasted 3. I was only a freshman in high school. And I still remember the sound of the scissors behind my ear. Because she made my braids into 2 perfect braids, and then whatever her lock was. That woman. She's now last we found, okay, I'm not going to talk about her right now. She's trapped in her body. She's basically living, the Catholics call it purgatory. She's in purgatory right now, living on earth. Because guess what? We're on a lush place called Gaia, Mother, and we are in the Garden of Eden. But we've devolved. So to get back to the garden, you get back to the garden by creating it on earth. You create your heaven on earth by creating loving relationships. And what we're experiencing right now, to me, is the apocalypse. It's the great reveal, and I get to see the long-term effects of a person's psyche and how they die. My father died peacefully, confused but peacefully. And my mother's was wandering the halls of her assisted living facility at night, thinking she was in the hospital, and picking scabs and bleeding. She was always picking scabs on her face when I was a little girl, and even into my college years. She was a picker. She has OCD. She had it then. When you're old, it moved to her legs, because that's where she has bruises because of all the blood thinners. You move, you nick yourself, you bruise, you itch, you scratch. The thinner the skin, you get a mosquito bite. You actually scratch your skin because you have an itch, because material, and you start bleeding. That's how thin the skin gets. And how thin the blood gets And it's the blood thinners, and it makes these people so they bleed so easily, especially if they're pickers. So that's what my mother was doing, wandering the halls of her facility. So recently they moved her to memory care, and I have pity for her, but when I sense into her, I don't feel her. I feel a little child lost and confused in a maze. That's what I feel. And years ago, when I told my sister, the golden child, Mom's gonna die, what she didn't realize was I was talking about her spirit, and that she would be talking to a dead woman, meaning a woman with dementia. And she continued to, because in that bifurcation, in which I see my sister as crazy and she sees me as equally as crazy. Well, her crazy is that she still says, I can have all the silverware because Mom said I could. All right. Our mother has dementia. And ever since I was a child, we polished that. And she always told me that when I die, she said, I want you to have some of the silverware. Your father would get me a piece. It's been a collection of mine. I'm up to 12 pieces. You can divide it amongst you, she said. So for the golden child to decide that the silverware is all for her is a crime, but not in her mind. But it is, and I will contest it. And whether or not anything happens, at least I said, hey, it doesn't matter what Mom said. Mom doesn't know. She's not the omnipotent. She may have been the almighty big one, and everybody knows my jokes about that. If you look back at my videos, Ambo, almighty big one. That was my way of mocking her in my mind, because I realized that I couldn't have my own free will. She was going to boss me around. She was the almighty big one. and when my sister, the older one, was still game, the golden child never would have. But when my older sister was still game and we weren't punished too severely, we goaded my mother. We mocked her with, yes, almighty big one. She'd be like, giving us a command, and we would say, yes, almighty big one. And we did it. we decided to mock her bossy pants by being mocking, like, okay, you want to be the big dog, I'll roll over and show you my belly. Not only will I do that, but I'll put a target on it. Yes, almighty big one. You know, it was our way of saying, all right, you want to be boss? what a child does. Oh. So yeah, I'm gonna bring this podcast to a close. I gotta find a way to upload these more rapidly. I may have to get Google Fiber. Oh, I've been holding off, but I think I may have to research that and get with the times. That's one of the things I think was the bane of my mother, was she never got with the times. She refused technology. And the rest of the world is on it. We're not telepathic. You're not telepathic. And besides, if we were, we would ban you. You know, you were simply like, you can block on a telepathic level people you don't want to listen to. Yeah. I remember feeling people trying to read my mind, and it pissed me off. And then, also, I was at a conference, and this woman was like tethering and pushing and cutting everybody else's ethereal cords. And you know something? It wasn't until this year I realized I actually had sensitivity and could feel things and see things that other people couldn't. So this, when I'm talking to you like you know what I'm talking about. And so sit back, grab a drink. I know this is at the end of a long talk, but like, come on. This is the home stretch. So I can feel and sense, and I used to get smacked across the face for it. But anyway, when you're in a room and you sense and feel and you can see, then later it gets validated. So I went to a conference, and then one of the women up on the stage, she was licking and flicking, you could see it, the tendrils of women in the audience that were reaching out towards the speaker, who was a man, because the women were putting out their sexual feelers. And she was like, nope, nope, nope. Well, she was a little bit of a bitch. And also a bodyguard. He had a physical bodyguard and he had a psychic bodyguard. But she wasn't discerning. So you could feel it. So I remember going, no, not mine. And like, I needed to tap in and learn what I needed to learn. So at one point I went to the back of the room, way back. And I could sense more and feel more back there. Although people seem to fetch themselves and get towards getting closer physically to the speaker. And I was always getting to the back of the room. And so I know how much energy I can feel. I feel it so much. So I went back there and I could really gather and get a sense. You know, in fact, one of the guys, yeah, you guys, there's just so much to tell you. I just have so much to say. There is such a thing as psychic energy. There's psychic energy. There is such a thing as intuition. We do really feel energy. I really do sense people. That's why relationship, if you're living with a person, you can't be with somebody who's not aware of their psychic debris. And it's not just, oh, I'm so sensitive, you have to be sensitive to me. It's that I also attracted these people who siphoned off it and siphoned off it and kept siphoning off of it. And all I needed them to do was be like, thanks, babe, for being such a good person to me, rather than all the ridicule. You know, in general, that's the problem with most relationships, is men stop saying that to their ladies. I mean, women might also, but it tends to happen that the women receive the brunt of the indifference. All she needs is for you to say, I got your back, I love you. When she wants to complain, and now women have to preface, I just need to be validated, I need to express myself, I don't need to explain myself, I don't want to be questioned, I don't want to be cross-examined, I don't want you to fix anything, I don't want a solution, let me vent. The problem is, it's like if you vent to a narcissist, he'll do that, he'll stand there, he'll receive it, he'll receive your pain. And then he'll take everything that you said, and then later when you're in a vulnerable place, he'll take it and he'll go, yeah, and then you just blah, 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 like when you, and then that time you crawled on their shoulder. So there's always betrayal and intimacy with them. They're nuts. There's nuts. Like, broadcasting my life on YouTube is safer. Besides, you guys don't know stuff. Like, people go, oh, how can you talk about your intimate things? No, this is like, you kidding me? A tour guide can be very, very friendly and personable, but they're not telling you about their personal life. I may be touring my life through the psychic web of things, but I'm certainly not revealing my deepest. No. Yeah, that's for me and my creator. I'm excited for 2025, everybody. And even more excited for 2026, but I'm not hurrying things along. This is wonderful, having been a Capricorn, to have had now Pluto moved into Aquarius. More later. You might look into some of the subjects we talked about. I'm going to have to review this and then write down the key points. Try to make an outline, and we'll pick up where we left off next time on Cat's Podcast. Nice to have you around. Meow.